I'd like to welcome Andy and Simon. Thanks for joining us today. We're doing these conversations really to highlight some of the work that's going on around the country that CIMSPA is involved in, working with employers, education providers, but also our members and the wider sector, and also allied professions that the sector's working with. And what we really wanted to do was to really talk about the differences in kind of some of the challenges that are taking place in our sector around the country, but also some of the similarities. So you guys are from opposite ends of England, the southwest, Simon, and for Andy, the northeast, and we'll talk a little bit about your regions. But I did bribe you to do this, so we've got treats from your region. My kind of Googling found me that there is something called a singing hinny from the northeast, Andy.
Singing hinny, and it reminds me of my grandmother. She always used to call me hinny.
There you go, which is a nice kind of fruit scone or scone, depending on where part of the world you're from.
We just had this debate over lunch. It's definitely a scone.
And then the traditional Cornish/Devonshire cream tea. And we can have a debate later on whether it's jam or cream first, because I'm married to a Devonian who tells me on a regular basis it has to be cream first, but no, we don't think that's right. So yeah, just really maybe Simon, if you want to start off, talk a little bit about the southwest, what the sector looks like in your region, and yeah, just kind of share with us what's happening in the southwest.
Yeah, so obviously born and bred Cornwall, so I cover Cornwall, Devon and Somerset. The landscape down, obviously, it's a very rural region. You know, we've got just over 3 million people across the 3 counties. Geographically, there's only really 2 cities really across the region that have got, you know, large population. So it makes not necessarily makes the role hard, but it makes it challenging in a good way with looking at what's happening across each region or each county, and then where those synergies are, but also the challenges, because Cornwall is historically always been sort of managed and led by local government. The leisure facilities have. That's now run by a large operator, national operator, whereas then Devon's made up of a lot of independents, but a lot of national facilities and employers in that region. And then Somerset is very sporadic. You've got little pockets of population and operators in that area. So it's been a challenge because people obviously just look at the southwest as one big thing, whereas actually when you were to look at the 3 counties individually, there's a lot of synergy, but there's also a lot of disparity, you know, health inequalities, a lot of good work within aligning to the health sector taking place across all 3 counties, which is fantastic. But then also, like I say, just population is, you know, Devon, for instance, is a priority county for me. Everyone's either on the south coast or a little bit of population up on the north coast, and then you've got the moorland in the middle, and it's just no man's land. So it makes the role a little bit challenging at times, but again, you know, that allows me to really get into what's going on and build a really clear picture on where the sector's progressing and not so it's starting to, especially around the skills gaps, allows me to get a better picture of, you know, what the requirements are going to be for the future around the workforce.
And these are some of the challenges of the place-based work that we're doing. It's fantastic, really important work, looking at kind of local need and how we can kind of support skills delivery according to that. Andy, you know, in the northeast, you've again got a big area there with a lot of diversity. Yeah,
I think I've got northeast and Cumbria, so very different to Simon's, but also very similar in the sense that Northumberland, which falls in north of the Tyne, is very rural. It's, you know, pockets of population along the coast and little pockets inland, but again, it's very rural. And I've actually had to set up a subsidiary board that looks after Northumberland, feeds into the main board because of transport links and whatnot. We're finding there's very different challenges for just that county alone. And then obviously Cumbria as well, being so rural, a lot of outdoor education and outward bound providers in there as well. So we're just, although we're seeing similar challenges, they're still very different at hyper-local level.
Yeah, and we know a challenge across the country is recruitment and retention, and you know we support in employers large and small with that across kind of all kind of 6 aspects of all the industries within the sector. And how is kind of that being responded to in your region, Andy, to start off with, in terms of those challenges that employers are facing to kind of have the people, the professionals that they need to deliver their services?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're seeing from boards now is that real collaboration and just that education of one, who CIMSPA are, but also who they are. And I think that now that they can see, well, I didn't realise this organisation was there, I didn't realise this organisation was doing that, even from the colleges, the fact that they want to work collaboratively to ensure that certainly young people who are coming through education systems have the same opportunities across certain areas, which is fantastic for me to see from a board level, and to see in such a short time the impact that we can have and that we are starting to have.
Yeah, and in the Southwest, I mean, a lot of my career has been spent in education, and I know the Southwest, particularly for post-16 education, is challenging because of the geographies and because of the locations of colleges and training providers.
Yeah.
What's happening in the Southwest around kind of helping support employers with that challenge?
So, give you a really good example, which all sort of the wheels were in motion just before I came into post, but now having CIMSPA at a local level, that place-based, it's accelerated that process. So Plymouth, for instance, prime example, very active city. They've set themselves this vision for 2034 to be the most active ocean city in the country. But what they've done within that strategy is they've looked at the education as well, and how do they work with employers to find out what the skills gaps are. So City College Plymouth, who I've been working with quite closely recently, have really gone out and start to engage the employers. They've looked at the work we're doing, looked at making sure that the right qualifications for training are being put on at the right time to support the workforce in that region, but also looking at what the other opportunities are going to be in the near and future. So, you know, for instance, they're now aligning to the health sector, working with Plymouth Hospitals Trust, and now developing new qualifications in CPD around our professional standards and around what the employers are asking for. You know, soft skills is a big area at the moment. Neurodiversity, for instance, it's employers are asking for it. So City College have been really proactive. They've listened to employers, they've gone out and they've developed their own CPD workshop, which what they've now done is embedded that in every single sport and physical activity qualification on their programme, which is fantastic.
In linking in with that, I think in the northeast, certainly we're seeing where those training providers who wouldn't necessarily be traditionally sport and physical activity, we're starting to see where those organisations can really link in and support our industry. And I think if it hadn't been for the local based work that we're doing with CIMSPA, that wouldn't have happened, or maybe wouldn't have accelerated at the speed that's happening now. So we are seeing training providers who can come in and offer an external qualification or an external programme to really support our industry and make the workforce really strong moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been talking to some of our training provider partners who particularly work in the apprenticeship space, and some great examples in the northeast where, you know, there's collaboration with smaller employers coming together, where as a single employer they can't offer a full apprenticeship experience, but by collaborating and working together, people like Coach Core are doing some fantastic work.
Yeah, really good. And I know the conversations that they have within our boards has strengthened that, and I think it's highlighted you don't have to take an apprentice on solely by yourself. You can take that on as a dual role over 2 organisations, and I think that is really going to benefit the workforce moving forward and actually benefit that person's experience as an apprentice.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, what I found, and I think we've all the Skills Hub managers have found actually, so we've all spoken about it, is in the last 12 months that we've been together and in our regions, is we've gathered so much data intelligence for our regions that it's allowed the educators to really dive into what the workforce needs to look like for the future. And the employers have finally got a voice because we've given them that voice, and we're helping to facilitate those conversations. And like Andy said, you know, the boards are very immature at the moment, but actually we're starting to see some really tangible results in very early stages.
Yeah, you've both kind of mentioned the boards. These are the local skills accountability boards. For anybody watching that's not familiar, just give us an idea of what those boards are, and in your areas, the types of representation there is on those boards.
Yeah, so for instance, so Devon's my most advanced board at the moment, so I'll use that as an example. So I've got FE, HE stakeholders on that. I've got the Chamber of Commerce, I've got health professionals, public health, a range of employers from our sector. So some of the national operators are sat there, but what was really key when setting up that board was making sure the SME side of the sector was supported, and especially the micro side of it. So we've got that really good representation, and actually everyone that should be around the table is around the table now. And what's great is the dialogue that's been taking place is we're facilitating those meetings, but actually the board members now are starting to lead the way, and having, I think, having a strong chair and vice chair is key. And for me, I was lucky enough to get a very good chairperson from within our sector, and a vice chair from one of our longest standing HE partners. And they work very well together because they're listening to each other.
Yeah, and what we're seeing, Andy, from those boards is that just that collaboration and bringing everybody together is already paying dividends for kind of education and training providers, as we said, knowing what the local need is, but also in terms of that policy development around health, active wellbeing, and how our sector can support really kind of reducing demand on the NHS through prevention, recovery support, healthy lifestyles, but also things like community cohesion. In your areas, you must have some kind of great examples of that.
Yeah, I think just recently linking in with the local university for Teesside, kind of unbeknown to the community that they offer free health checks as well, and they want to be more involved with community clubs. So now that we're linking in with them, we're starting to put them in touch with other organisations who are really in the heart of the community. We haven't got any tangible data to say what impact that's going to have on our NHS at the moment, but we know that's going to have a massive impact because we're saving them time, we're saving them money. Even if you look at some of the tangible data level, Tees Valley's working in slightly different ways. They're looking at, I think there's a huge emphasis on the young workforce coming through, which is fantastic, but also how do we engage with different demographics. So we've got sector-based work programs that are running with some of our organisations at the moment. They've just recruited 10 new swimming instructors, are going to be level 2 swimming instructors. That equates to 450 new people taking part in a swimming class. Once we can really build up a social value for that, we'll have some real hard evidence to be able to say that the impact we're really having. And we know we're having it. It's just collating it at the moment.
It is very much, and I think the important thing you say there is there's things going on in the sector, but without a kind of a bringing together of all the interested parties, which is really kind of a key part of what the team is doing across the country and in Scotland and Wales. Yeah. Really kind of bringing together everybody who's kind of working in this space. It will just have so much more impact and on the profession and helping our current workforce, helping future workforce, helping employers, helping deployers, policymakers, but at the end of the day, really helping participants and encouraging participants. We talked a little bit about data. I mean, one of the things that you guys do as part of your role is skills diagnostics and skills analysis. Can you just share kind of a few highlights from those from your region? Because we've done hundreds of them across the country with hundreds of employers, and it's massive data, but I guess kind of at a local level, what it really is doing is giving that hard data to be able to plan skills development. And when you come to do the local skills plans, which each board is going to be creating to really drive the direction of skills development in an area and skills provision, that's going to be critical, isn't it? It's
going to be huge, and I know that I did a bit of an exercise with Tees Valley, for instance. That was the first board that I got established, and even from sort of between 30 and 40 skills diagnostics, using some average income that you would generate from those roles, average wages, it worked out there's going to be coming up to somewhere close to £3.5 million worth of workforce economy over the next 12 to 24 months, and that's very much playing safe, playing below the radar. So I think to be able to have that data available to say, well, in the next 12, 24 months, it's going to be £3.5 million worth of workforce economy coming up with, that's really powerful from such a small cohort as well. If we can then just build on that and capture more data, it's going to be invaluable to the work that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that data, like you say, is that data, because we're now starting to gather it, and we're gathering it at quite a rate of pace, is when you look at the LSIPs, local skills improvement plans, the priority sectors that sit in them at the moment have a lot of data and evidence to back up why they should be sat in the LSIP. Obviously, we're very new to the party with this, so we're now starting to gather all of that data intelligence so that when it comes to the LSIP reviews, our boards are in a position to go, well, actually, we should form part of the next LSIP review period, so that they can then start to get greater support from central government, etc., from the funding streams that come through the LSIPs, the LSIFs, etc.
Yeah, that kind of evidence base is massive, and the work we're doing through our insight team, and we've got Data Lens tool now, which I know kind of a lot of employers are finding, and not just employers but other members of your board, in terms of planning their delivery, their workforce planning is huge. And we've just launched the Workforce Observatory, which is going to bring together academic research as well, so that the intelligence there, but really kind of the work that you guys are doing with the boards, but also with employers and deployers to really implement that and take it forward and put it into practice is huge. Yeah. In your areas, because you cover kind of a huge number of miles, and you see a lot of practice and a lot of different types of organisation, what have you seen in maybe the last 6 months that in your region that's really innovative, either in the education space, the skills space, or just kind of in the delivery space?
I think for myself, health has been a big item on my agenda, because from my previous roles in the sector, I worked quite closely with the health sector. So bringing that skill set to the table with the boards, but also looking at what, again, use the example, City College Plymouth and the public health team are doing together collaboratively with our sectors, workforce and employers now, where they're developing brand new qualifications and training, that's what people are asking for. So and I think, we see it from our discussions as SHMs that it's happening up and down the country, but it's at different levels at the moment. But I think it's, again, going back to that data, it's gathering that intelligence so that we can then share that with the other skills hub managers across the country when they're having discussions with health and going, well, these are the benefits. They're doing this in Devon and Cornwall. We should be looking at doing this. So that's probably something that over the last 6 months has been really good to see, is that alignment of sport and physical activity, health sector and education sector all work in harmony to develop something new and unique and specific to what the needs are.
Yeah.
I think from mine, I look at North of the Tyne being 40 mile away from Tees Valley and how they're facing very similar challenges, but want to approach it very differently. I think in the North of the Tyne is one of the standouts to me is the colleges just wanting to work together and not be seen to be competing. It's very much we want to benefit the young people that we work with and make sure that they all have the same opportunity. For me personally, I find that really exciting, fantastic to see. From a Tees Valley approach, it's very much looking at the different demographics we work with. It's a very deprived area. Instead of always concentrating on the young people, actually, how can we look at those who have maybe been on long-term sickness, suffering from chronic pain, long-term ill health? How can we transition those people into our sector? And as I say, we're very early stages of looking at how we can implement sector-based work programs. But the board, it's been, again, exciting and really nice to be part of, is where those smaller organisations may not be in a position to offer the 3 steps that you would need to qualify to offer a sector-based work programme. They almost want to come together as a collaborative to say, well, okay, we kind of sign off on that and say, well, we will support these organisations in order to help implement these programmes. And I think, would that have happened before we were there? Maybe it would have, but would it have happened the way it's happening now? Probably not. And I think it's really exciting to be part of that.
Yeah, it is. And it's, you talk about kind of opportunities in our sector for everybody, and there really are. And we've been doing a lot of work around highlighting, professional recognition for those working in our sector, but also that this is a professional sector. It's a great sector to aspire to work in, and that applies whether you are a school leaver, a college leaver, a university leaver, at the start of your working life. But equally those, as you say, that are either returning to work or looking for a career change. There are some fantastic opportunities in our sector. What I kind of didn't want to kind of pass the opportunity is you both kind of had quite varied careers in the sector. What would be your top tip for somebody who's looking to start a career in the sector, whether that's a young person or somebody who is looking for a career change, a second career, a third career?
It's the value added, I suppose. You know, you look from it, what do you get from it? If you're into the active lifestyle or actually want to change your habits, this sector really gives you that, and it gives you an opportunity to give back as well. You know, so many people have had varied experiences. I know why I love the sector, because what it's gave me, and actually if I'm in a position to offer that opportunity to people, I suppose it's to know what your why is and really focusing on that. I know my why is for this sector, and what is another person's why.
Yeah, I think like I started right at the bottom, you know, early age as a lifeguard. Not saying the lifeguard is the bottom of, you know, the career path, but I think I started then. I worked my way all the way through the career options that were available at that time. So I've had quite a varied career within the sector, and I'd say, you know, try and look at what you're passionate about. If you are passionate about the sector, and then really delve into, okay, what do I really want to do within the sector? You know, is it I want to go into the wet side, and, you know, do I want to become a pool lifeguard, swimming instructor, you know, or is it the fitness, or is it the management route? And then looking at, okay, what are my options, and how do I get to where I need to go, and then what's the career path beyond that? So I think, again, all the work that we're doing with the new careers guidance and that is, we've opened up more doors to the youngsters of tomorrow, because, you know, we're sort of highlight, because I think still there's that narrative that our sector is, you know, very much you going in as a lifeguard or a gym instructor or a personal trainer. There's a lot more to our sector than that. I think that's what's quite exciting now, is all those new doors opening.
Most definitely.
And it's not just that. I think a lot of people also go to college or university and think they're just going to work with elite athletes.
Yeah.
Actually, it's so varied and so wide. You know, my background has always been, I've worked in the third sector, and I love that, because I've been able to give back and provide people the same opportunities that I've had within sport and physical activity. I probably would get a lot more. I'd probably get a lot more from that than I would working with an elite athlete personally. So I think it's about making sure, you know, we're talking about this career guidance, it is understanding. I think we're doing that now as a sector, is we're highlighting the different opportunities that are available. It's not just the traditional route.
And I think it's making sure they're realistic with their career choices in our sector, because, like you say, there's only a small percentage of individuals from our sector that go on to become, you know, elite level coaches. You know, it's a very small minority. So actually, what are the other opportunities, and where do you want to go with that?
Yeah, and those transferable skill sets,
Yeah.
as you say, you know, there's the skills that you develop in roles, whether it be lifeguarding, coaching, management. There's so many kind of cross utilisation skills, for want of a better phrase, that you can use, you know, throughout your career within the sector, or if you do decide to go and work in a different sector, that they would, you know, be crying out for. So so important. Finally, before we wrap up, if anybody's watching this and wants to get in touch, an employer of any size or deployer or education provider in your areas, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can go on to the CIMSPA website. Obviously, if they go to the local skills tab, they can then look. There's a nice visual there of the map of home nations in England, and they can see where their local skills hub manager is, and our contact details are on there as well. So, you know, we're all accessible. So just drop us an email, and we can arrange a coffee and a catch up.
Yeah, that's great.
We love a post on LinkedIn as well, so you can definitely find us on LinkedIn.
You two are kind of always really active on LinkedIn, and it's great to see kind of, and we get to see kind of some of the people that you're working with and the employers. So yeah, but just to say thank you very much for kind of joining me today, and we'll enjoy the treats, and we'll look forward to kind of further developments in your regions.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks.